Namaskar.
Namaskar.
How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, Amrita?
Absolutely fine. Nice to see you here
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this platform.
Okay.
Right.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Prashasti.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, Neetu.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are on mute.
We'll just begin with the webinar. We are just waiting for the expert to join. So we'll be beginning with the webinar in a few minutes. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon, sir.
Welcome, Dr. Akhil Prasad.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, madam. Good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir. The voice is audible.
Good
So,
afternoon, sir.
Akhilesh ji, namaskar. GK Prabhu here.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some are born leaders and some achieve leadership.
Namaskar.
As quoted by Tom Peters, management is about arranging and telling. Leadership is about nurturing and enhancing. To learn, develop, and enhance the leadership skills, Manipal University, Jaipur continues with its leadership webinar series, Education for Generation Z. Good afternoon, everyone. It takes me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the webinar on value of self-leadership and introspection. We are honored to have with us our Honorable President, Professor G.K. Prabhu, Pro-President, Professor N.N. Sharma, Registrar, Dr. Neetu Bhatnagar. It is under this trinity that we all are growing and flourishing. We at Manipal University, Jaipur, with immense pleasure, welcome Dr. Akhil Prasad, Director, Country Counsel India and Company Secretary, Boeing India Services Private Limited, as our expert today. A doctorate in law and a doctorate in commerce, Dr. Prasad is a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, UK. With over 25 years of experience, Dr. Akhil has held offices such as Head of Legal and Company Secretary with Fidelity Worldwide Investment, as Director, India Legal Affairs and Company Secretary with the Walt Disney Company India, as Senior Attorney and Company Secretary with General Motors India, and as General Manager Legal with Electrolux Kelvinator. We welcome you, sir.
So much.
We also have with us Ms. Amrita S. Dudia, Director, Institute of Leadership and Skill Development and founding chairperson, ASD Education Society, as a moderator in conversation with our expert, Dr. Akhil Prasad. Ms. Dudia is a renowned mind coach, academician, and a keynote speaker who is best recognized for inspiring others to become the best version of themselves. With a service of more than 15 years, Ms. Amrita has been actively working with administrative police and judicial officers and has been providing high performance coaching to leaders, national institutions, professionals, corporations, and business houses. She is a National Excellence Award winner, TEDx speaker, and a serving member in Police Commissionerate Committee on Peace and Police Committee on Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment. We are delighted to have you with us, ma'am. Without taking much time, I request Dr. Neetu Bhatnagar, Registrar Manipal University, Jaipur, to deliver the welcome address.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Prashasti. You already have welcomed all the dignitaries who are already here. So I would also like to extend welcome to all the chief guests, and of course the moderator who is here. So I'll begin with President MUJ, Professor G.K. Prabhu, our Pro-President, Professor N. Sharma, and the chief guest of today's event, Dr. Akhil Prasad, Deputy Director Admissions, Professor Prakash Ramani, moderator of the webinar, Ms. Amrita Dudia, and other dignitaries, and my dear participants. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to another webinar to the Leadership Webinar Series, Education for Gen Z. The topic of today's webinar is very much relevant in today's perspective, and that is on value of self-leadership and introspection. And we have a very, a renowned speaker on this topic who will be actually delivering, a talk on this, Dr. Akhil Prasad, who is Director, Country Counsel India and Company Secretary, Boeing India Service Private Limited. And he's joining as an expert for today's webinar. So welcome you, sir, once again. Thank you for being here. And in conversation with Dr. Akhil, we have Ms. Amrita as Dudia as moderator for this event. As already told by Ms. Prasasti, that she is a Director, Institute of Leadership and Skill Development and founding chairperson, ESD Education Society. And she is a National Excellence Award winner, a TEDx speaker, and a serving member in Police Commissionerate Committee on Peace and Police Committee on Protection of Women Against Sexual Harassment. And she's a very enthusiastic towards social work and contributes to multiple NGOs. Also, I take this opportunity to welcome our president, Professor G.K. Prabhu, who himself is an inspirational leader, and there is always so much to learn from him. So we welcome you, sir. I also welcome our Pro-President, Professor N. Sharma. This webinar is actually the brainchild of our Pro-President, and we have been conducting this since 2020. So this is another, webinar in the series. And on behalf of admission team, I wish to welcome all the participants to this webinar. Wish them happy learning. Thank you, everyone. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
I request our president, Professor G.K. Prabhu, to brief about Manipal University, Jaipur.
Yeah. So, namaskar. Am I audible, Prashasti?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're
okay.
audible, sir.
Yeah. So, first of all, good evening and welcome all of you for this very interesting webinar series. And today we have the expert Dr. Akhil Prasad, and we have a moderator, Ms. Amrita Dudia, my own team, my Pro-President N. Sharmaji, the registrar Dr. Neetu Bhatnagar, the admission team who is coordinating all these activities, other faculty members, and also a very young and dynamic students community. And for all of us, it is something that the university will do these kind of webinars. And of course, seminar is the one that at our level we used to have it, but still it has its own charm. Dr. Akhil Prasad would definitely agree with me. But this, the challenges and travel constraint and connectivity, corona, all those things have pushed us to the virtual platform. Nevertheless, it has its own advantages too. And it has the reachability is much higher, get the people immediately into all these platforms. So we would like to continue this. Last time we have initiated, and still we would like to have many people like an expert like Dr. Akhil Prasad and other people must come, and we would be very happy to listen all of to them. Of course, as you know, Manipal University, Jaipur. Manipal is a small place. Actually, now it became a brand. And Manipal is a place in the southern part of Karnataka and in the west coast on the bank of an Arabian Sea. And it is an hilltop, and where our founder, Dr. Tonse Madhav Anantapai, we fondly call him as a TMA Pai, and he was a medical doctor. And he thought that we will do some kind of an educational town. And it's one small incident, and then I will hand over to the expert. And at that time, our state Karnataka was not there. I'm talking about in 1950s. And we belong to, that place belonged to a Madras province. And he wrote to the governor of Madras, and he said there is a small place near our village that is called as Manipal, and it is a hilltop, very hard rock, laterite rock, nothing can be grown over this hill. And in India is a more on agricultural land. I do not want to waste the agriculture land to build any kind of a city. So nothing can be grown on this hilltop. So you please give this land to a trust, and I will develop an educational town. And that was the first ever letter the founder has written to the governor of Madras. So just look at that. Even to take the land, it is not the agriculture land, it is the barren hilltop. And today, if you see, this whole hilltop is now being converted into an educational town. Started with the one medical college in the name of Kasturba Medical College. And this was the first ever medical college under the private sector. And till then, there were only the medical college under the government and the missionaries. And this was the 40th medical colleges in the country. And today, if you see that, this will be one of the top 10 medical colleges in the country. And then all other professional colleges like in engineering, hotel management, dental, nursing, 25 institutions are there on this hilltop. And on the top, if you see, we can see the Arabian Sea. And 2-3 years back, this group of institutions collected together as a deemed university called as a Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Now it is considered as one of the institution of eminence. And that recognition was given by the MHRD, and now it is a Ministry of Education. And this is the tribute that which we can owe to our founder, but his son, Dr. Ramdas Pai, and the next generation, his son, Dr. Ranjan Pai, now they have taken this education not only in Manipal, in other places and outside India. Just to highlight a few, we have a campus in Bangalore, we have in Bangalore, we have a campus in Sikkim in the northeast region, and we have one campus in Jamshedpur in association with the Tata. This is the private partnership, and this is called as the Tata Manipal Medical College, launched last year. And we also have outside India, like one campus in Nepal and 3 campuses in Malaysia, one in Dubai, one in Caribbean island in US. And in 2011, we got an invitation from Rajasthan government to establish a state university in Jaipur. On the invitation of the government, the group has established this year, and Dr. Akhil Prasad ji, and this is the 10th year for us. It's a decennial year. We started with the 300 students in the one program of engineering, and today we have 10,000 students in the 62 different programs. So numbers are going, and different streams that which we have, whether it is a law, whether it is a hotel management, whether there is a design, architecture, and commerce, sciences, And in engineering, there are about 10 to 12 undergraduate and post-graduation program. And 2-3 years back, we thought that are we growing along only in the quantity? How is about our quality? So we have invited a accreditation council, a national assessment and accreditation council, which measures the quality of the university and the program. And we are very happy to inform that in the first accreditation, we got the A+ accreditation. And this is the first ever university in entire Rajasthan to get this NAC A+ accreditation, which allowed us to start along with the campus-based program an online degree education. And in a 1 year, there are about 10,000 more students which came under the online program. So this is the growth, and this is the one of the beautiful campuses. I will request Dr. Akhil Prasad ji to visit us whenever you are available. So we would be very happy to host you in our university, not only show only the campus, which is one of the best, one of the beautiful, and is one of the green campuses under the education sector. But what I am showcasing is my very committed faculty members and a vibrant student community. So that is one, and invitation even to Miss Amrita Dudia ji. So please visit us and be with us. And today's topic is a very interesting. It's the value of self-leadership and introspection. I am very excited to hear that. And the leadership is the one which is required at every level. It is not that only the vice chancellor is the leader. No, it is that every teacher is a leader. Even if I see my driver, yes, he is the leader. And when he drives me because he is the leadership position. He has to take some decisions. And even the karmacharis, okay, so they are also the leaders. Even the student, when we take it, they are also the micro leaders. And this is where I anticipate. I would be very happy to listen to Dr. Akhil Prasad and the interactions with Amrita. But this is what is the self-leadership. It is not that somebody will tell you that this is how we have to do it. So as a leader, we need to take that kind of an empowerment and to go. As a vice chancellor, the board will give the direction. But on day to day, that as a VC, I have to take many decisions, take people along with that and move forward. We would be very happy to listen these interactions with you, and there would be a lot of learning for each one of us. So once again, I extend a warm welcome to both of you to our campus whenever it is feasible for you. But today, I welcome for this virtual mode to have this kind of leadership lecture. And I'm sure that all my faculty and student will be benefited by these kind of interactions. And we relate. Whatever you talk, we will relate at our own level, how it will be useful on our daily activities. And these are something that is an excitement for me. Once again, I wish this event a grand success, and hope that there would be a lot of learning for each one of us. And thank you for very much for having me here. And I over to Dr. Prashasti Jain, and of course now she will tell us that how the other activities will go. Over to Prashasti. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. I now request Ms. Amrita Dudia, the moderator for today's interaction with our expert, to kindly take over.
Thank you very much. And it is indeed our pleasure to be here with Manipal. So the Gen X, baby boomers, or the millennials got what the previous generation handed over to us. And then we created many more new things. We got cleaner air, better water, a comparatively stable socio-political system. We relied more on mind memory than the gadget system. The youth of today are going to be the future. And if you have to align this future to positive thinking and progressive growth, the onus is on elders. What a wonderful initiative by Manipal University, Education for Gen Z. The best way to lead Gen Z is by coaching. And with such immense talent that we are surrounded with, important is that we get the right guidance and proper coaching. In a world deluded by irrelevant information, clarity is a superpower. And I'm so glad that we have Dr. Akhil Prasad with us, who has the patience and perseverance of a Gen X, an innovative mindset of a millennial, and the energy, enthusiasm, and the agile mindset of a Gen Z. All in all, he is one package and he switches on the role like this. We are so happy and honored to have you here, Dr. Akhil Prasad. We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you, Amrita ji, and thank you, Dr. Prabhu, and thank you, Dr. Jain. It's indeed my privilege, to be here at the Manipal Jaipur chapter. But I must confess that whatever Dr. Prabhu has said is absolutely true because I have myself witnessed uh, to be in Manipal with TAPME on three previous occasions, and I was very fortunate to interact with bright students at TAPME. And what I was in complete awe was how can one person's determination, the founder of Manipal as an educational city, can reap so big dividends and returns for the students. That today Manipal is one of the leading and the students of Manipal, what can you say about them? They are global leaders, and that goes out to show that this is perhaps the desire of the Jaipur chapter also, that students should, be global leaders. But one thing which I really admire, Dr. Prabhu had put it very, very clearly, is that leadership is within ourselves. And, it only needs to be, shaped in a way. And we need to really understand that all of us have that capability. So, quoting a very small example from Ramayana, uh, you know, Hanuman Hanumanji did not know that he had that capability to fly and lift a mountain. But the moment he was convinced by Lord Ram himself, he got that self belief that he can do it, and then he could grow up in size and then jump oceans and get the mountain back. So I think that leap of faith is something which is very, very important and critical, that each one of us should enlighten ourselves. And that is exactly what the topic of discussion is today, when I want to talk about the leadership. And I will talk about the introspection bit a little later. Perhaps that will be my last slide as to how I introspect. And so that is one I but before that I would like to talk about leadership. So I think the best way to learn this subject is to look at what different companies have done. So I have been fortunate to work for one such company called the Walt Disney Company. And Walt Disney Company, we all know it's the giant on entertainment. But it was a dream, like of your founder, Mr. T.A. Pai. He thought about value creation in education, but Walt Disney saw a value creation in a Mickey Mouse. And because of that vision he had about the Mickey Mouse, he created a content organization which was called as the Walt Disney Company. But the Walt Disney Company at that point of time was mainly a cartoon or a magazine manufacturing company. But Walt Disney had a vision that he can bring the Mickey Mouse to life. And what was that? That was about creating a theme park. And he started with a theme park, in US. And then he did, two theme parks. But by the time he had envisioned the third theme park, he died in 1967. But then his brother took the legacy forward. So what did Walt Disney do? Why did his brother take on and was able to um, build the organization what Walt Disney did? I think Walt Disney, first of all, did the leadership in himself. He had a conviction that he is going to bring Mickey Mouse to life. And then he made the other team members realize that this can be done by creating a theme park. And then, when the leadership got energized, they continued to build the third theme park, and then they went to Paris, they went to Tokyo, and then they went to Shanghai. So the vision of the Walt Disney, which was thought about Walt Disney, did not die with Walt Disney, and that is what is very very important. That when I joined this organization in 2005, there was a change in leadership, and then the gentleman that you see under the Fortune magazine cover, Bob Iger, was the CFO, but he was promoted as the Chief Executive Officer, and he also was from the school of the Walt Disney era, that leadership is something which needs to be developed, and leadership is something about not only an individual thing, but developing your own team. So this is exactly what Bob Iger also did as a leader, and he developed a team that you see on the right, which includes the lawyer, which is Alan Braverman, who at that point of time was my boss. And all these people together, developed their own leadership styles. And then what did they achieve? So they transformed the organization to the next level. And then from being a purely Mickey Mouse and theme park oriented organization, they build it into a media, the largest media company of the world by acquiring Pixar from by acquiring Pixar from Steve Jobs, by acquiring Marvel, by acquiring other channels like the Fox and the Star Studio. And then today, if you see, Walt Disney is the largest media company of the world. And this only happened because the leadership of each one of the executives, each employee in the company, like we were also told in back in 2005, 2006, that you have to take decisions, you have to build your own leadership style, and all those things we were educated when we were employees of Disney. The other example I want to give you as a case study is, the acquisition of IBM by Lenovo. And IBM, we know, was the largest manufacturer of hardware, and Lenovo was a small Chinese company in comparison. But somehow Lenovo wanted to become bigger than IBM, and they said the best way to do it is to acquire IBM. So people laughed at them. People laughed at the CEO, and they said, "How can you acquire a company which is 20 times your size?" So he said, "This is exactly what I want to do." And then he explained and convinced his team that this is how I'm going to do it. That he created a vision and a mission statement, and he then educated the entire leadership, including each and every employee of the company, and convinced them that this is my business plan and this is how I'm going to achieve greatness. This is how I'm going to become the largest company in the world. And then in 2 years, you see bottom table, in 2004, they were 100% Chinese company, and in 2006 they become a global company, and that was purely because the leader had the vision, and the leader had the vision to energize the leadership of others in the organization. So if somebody were to ask and do an assessment as to um, what are the important skills that somebody should develop to become a great leader? So a Fortune 500 assessment of some of the largest companies in the world is that a leader has to be a visionary. So you have to really think big, out of the box, and you have to encourage your people to think out of the box, because it's not about making yourself as a leader. It is about making everyone else who's working with you a leader. So a visionary, it's not only about myself; it's about everybody who we are working with. Then you have to show a lot of confidence in your people. So if I am a leader and I'm not showing confidence in my team, I don't think I will be able to develop other leaders. So I have to develop myself, I have to develop others, and I have to build their confidence that yes, we can do it. Even if we fail, failure is only a part of learning. And there are many startups with, and we will see the examples on later slides. But these people have some kind of a undefeatable confidence in them that no matter what, we will be successful, and that is exactly what needs to be done. Then you have to communicate. You have to communicate very, very clearly, with people as to what are the expectations and what is it that people have to do. What are the standards and the benchmark that need to be done, so that they become leaders on their own. And then you have to give them a firm's vision, value, and standards. You have to tell them that this is the vision. These are the values which cannot be compromised. These are the standards of excellence which need to be achieved. And then we have to work together very, very ethically and with integrity. And then the last but not the least, I think there has to be a great deal of sacrifice. There needs to be a great deal of determination and courage in yourself and in your team if you have to really, really be a true leader. So some people may question in today's world as to can we do business through integrity, through ethics? I must tell you that currently I'm working with an organization which is a 105-year-old organization, and we have been making planes for last 105 years. We have only improved over the years, and why we have improved over the years is because there is a zero tolerance on integrity and ethics. Everybody has to do business the right way, because some people may want to take shortcuts, but that destroys your reputation. And the last thing a leader would want to do is a reputation which can be destroyed by doing things which are not ethical or not done with integrity. So a leader has to have a vision that even during uncertain and fast changing environment, how do you ensure that the organization is sustainable? So this we have seen in the last 2 years, and you take an example, even in your own university, that despite COVID, I think you have not been able to suffer any kind of. Amrita, you had something to say.
Oh, I appreciate the point you were saying that leading in times of uncertainty, and this is so relevant. The Generation Z, especially the moment they are going to move into the workforce, they will be operating in a VUCA world by default. And I think we'd like to have your wisdom on how this generation can successfully glide through this VUCA world and still achieve its own personal goals. Like, so rightfully, you told us, you spoke about integrity, you spoke about various leaders. The good part was, as I noticed, the what you see outside in an organization is a reflection of what's internal in the founder. It's the reflection of inside of a founder. So I think that's where self leadership plays a very vital role. And we'd like to know from you your experiences. How did you glide through this VUCA world, and how should the Gen Z proceed?
I think, Amrita, the moment we say VUCA, the environment will always be nebulous and unclear. I think whenever we are operating at any level, whether we are teachers, whether we are students, whether we are in corporate sector, whether we are businessmen, there will always be uncertainty. But I think the biggest thing is uh, introspection, and introspection in every sphere. Whether I am a student, and if I am a student, so let's talk about a student. The students at some stage are perhaps the most people who need a lot of guidance. So they have a lot of insecurities once they are studying. So whether I will get a job, if I will get a job, how will I compete? If I compete, how do I get better? So these are the questions that you have in your mind. These are your so-called fears or inhibitions or reservations. So what you need to do is, whenever these questions come to you, put those questions in your mind and try to find some solutions. as to how you overcome that obstacle. So things may not look clear to you, but the moment you start to think deeply about the subject, you will, and you talk to people. You build your own board of directors, people who you can rely upon. Take advice, take counsel, talk to as many people as you can. Collect a lot of data, synthesize the data in your mind, but take your own decisions. So some people, when I was studying, I was doing, I did my law. And then when I want to do an LLM and I want to do a PhD, some people just said to me that, do you want to become a professor? So I said, yeah, but also, I want to become a corporate executive. So they said, this will not help you become a corporate executive. How wrong they were and how right I was. So that is what people have to, really synthesize, analyze, and then the VUCA concept goes away. It only, the more you do, the more research you do, it becomes more clear. Okay, so talking about, the value of leadership. So, a leadership will always have a value. So whenever CEOs are leading us, their organization's valuation depends upon the kind of leader. So, for example, Uber, Travis Kalanick was the founder. And then suddenly he was asked to go by the management because of some of the things which he should not have done. And then a new person, Dara, was brought to the helm of the affairs. So there was a certain price in the valuation of the organization. And that is what we call as price of leadership. So I think a similar situation would have happened when, Microsoft had change in leadership. And when its founder, Bill Gates, decided to resign or decided to step down and, bring other leaders to the fore, there would have been a drop in the valuation of the company. Same would have happened for Infosys. But then, people tend to gain a lot of value, and the, companies that come back perform admirably well. So here are some of the two case studies. One about Indra Nooyi's leadership. So Indra Nooyi, we all know, is the has been the CEO of PepsiCo, and she had a very tough time when she became a CEO because Pepsi at that point of time was selling only colas and snacks, which were not healthy products. And she was the first one who challenged the idea in this, and she said that we should be selling more of healthy food, juices, healthy snacks. And the shareholders did not like it because you can't change the organization so dramatically. But she was determined and she was relentless. And that brought about a change in PepsiCo, and people found that, whatever she said made sense. But she was able to do it because she was relentless in her approach, and she convinced the other people leadership to look at a larger picture and be successful. The other example I would like to give is of Mary Barra, the woman that you see here on the top right. I also worked for General Motors for 3 years, but at that point of time, GM was at the top of Fortune 500 companies for 35 years in a row. But then GM went bankrupt, and then Mary Barra had to take decisions to shut down manufacturing in markets like India, where 1/6 of world population resides. And her approach was not liked by the management, but she was relentless and gave results. So a lot of personal sacrifice. Some of the important insights about what people say about leadership. Somebody like a Steve Jobs, we all know Steve Jobs. So he says about leadership is that leaders will always have a very strong focus. They simplify things, they take responsibility end to end, and they push for perfection. But some people who would have seen his biography would have seen that his type of leadership was very dominating. He was the one man visionary who ensured that people do what he says. Perhaps, people, what I'm teaching is a little different from what he was, but he was also a very successful leader. And that type of leadership also works. So for example, we have today's current prime minister who's very different as a leader than we had the previous prime minister. But both prime ministers were very, very effective in their own way. So different leadership styles. We can't say that this leadership is good or that leadership is bad. What works for an organization is an effective leadership. Then there is another, let's take another example of Lincoln style leadership, which says that anticipating contending viewpoints. So we can't say that this is my way or highway. We have to accept other people's point of view. We have to learn when to hold back or when to move forward. So battles are not won even if you continue to move forward. Battles are won if you learn to step back. And that is what your business strategy is. When to attack, when to defend, when to step back and attack is what makes you a very effective leader. And you have to refuse to let past sentiments fester. Don't judge a person based upon what that person would have done in the past. You should learn to forget and forgive. And then, once you do that, you will see the person with whom you had certain resentment becomes your best ally. And that is what a strong leader will always do. They will not become judgmental. They would want to do or develop people, and then you have to win over your skeptics. That's the biggest challenge. This is where a self pride or an ego comes in between, which prevents you from becoming a very effective leader, is what you need to see. So if somebody were to ask me what are these top items in a leadership checklist, is you have to act strategically, you have to convey your character. Character is one of the most prominent thing which a leader needs to develop, because unless you have a strong character, people will not accept you as a leader. And believe me, no matter what person you bring as a leader, unless that person is able to build his or her trust in the organization, that person will not be a successful leader. So you may say that my bosses are happy with me, therefore I am the CEO of this company, the directors are good. But if that CEO is not good to the workers who are below, or who is not nice to the people who are below, you will not be able to become a successful leader. So you have to build your trust and confidence as a part of your leadership. And then you have to decide very, very decisively. So Amrita, you talk about the VUCA things, right? So this is one of the important things where a VUCA, how to deal with VUCA is, when you have taken a decision and when the leadership tells you it's 70% clear, 30% unclear, even if you have a 60-70 or a 70-30 consensus, go for it, take decision. You may fail, but even if after taking a 70% consensus you fail, it's a learning. But you have to take very decisive actions, on how to take your business forward. And then take charge and lead that change. This is also what Steve Jobs said, that you have to take charge of a situation. That does not mean that we become a micromanager. We should be outcome oriented, but we should give people leverage to do their jobs. And then we should say that this is my vision. Next 2 years, this is where I need to see the company. This is the goal. These are the steps to achieve that goal. And then don't become a micromanager. Let your managers drive businesses for you. Then most important thing is strengthen leadership in oneself and others. I've already said about this. It's not about my leadership, it's everybody's leadership. And Dr. Prabhu said the same thing, that everybody in the organization at whatever level has to demonstrate a leadership. For example, if you are having a meeting, if you are coming back to your classrooms, you see that your classrooms are very clean, clean water, everything is provided. It's thanks to the staff who's there in your university, who's working tirelessly to keep your classrooms fully sanitized. And those kind of leaderships are extremely valuable. Then the next one is place common interests first. So organization interest has to be first, and then your personal interest. So somebody maybe want to go for a leave, but then you have a project deadline to deliver, so you can't let your team down. And you have to ensure that even if you are on leave, you are with your team so that the goal is achieved. So you can't let it has to be a common interest first, and then you have to serve as a general manager. You have to take care of everybody's interest. The other thing which is on this chart, but very, very briefly, is organizations are more successful if they decide quickly, if they take quick decisions. So we see that, big organizations, startups eating away businesses of well-established brands. Why is that happening? Because startups are taking decisions very quickly, and then a time comes when the established brand is left behind and the startup goes forward, because the customers really want people that are agile. Customer really want companies which are more receptive, who can give a proper connect and a feedback to the customer. So that fast decision making is very, very important in today's world to survive. And this is a typical, snapshot of the how a manager should be in today's world. And this comes from a Harvard Business Review cover page of a magazine, that you have to be an effective leader. You have to learn to take risks in business, because if you don't take risks, you will park your money in fixed deposits, because fixed deposits will also give you 3-4% return. But if you are into business, you have to take those business risks so that your returns to shareholders are maximized. You have to have eyes and ears open for your customers. No matter what, it is always customer first. If your organization is looking to work for customers and organizations that think that I have made a very good product, damn, the customer will always fail, because you always need to have a product which you have feedback from the customer. Then you have to have global competitiveness. You have to achieve a scale, because today's competition is not only within your country. The competition today is global. So whatever strategies you adopt for your business, it is always with a global mindset. You have to have a lot of pulse on regulations, because imagine what happened to Jack Ma in China. Jack Ma carried a very successful internet and online business, e-commerce business, because in China, no foreign companies can operate in that space. So he thrived on that business. But he forgot that the biggest thing which he is not paying attention to is the regulations and the government in China, which brought him down. And then, he had to undergo that antitrust filing and all that. But that is a very important thing that one has to develop as a leader. And then, of course, on the new economics, the irrational, what we call the irrational decision making. So sometimes, people may say that I want a consensus in the room. I have 10 leaders in the room. If you say yes, only then I will proceed, but that will never happen. So even if you have, as I say, a fast decision making is something which is very, very important and critical. Amrita, you want to add something here?
I'd like to appreciate a wonderful takeaway from your talk has been that no matter what kind of personality you are, you can always be a leader. I recall, and in fact, all the viewers would recall that you stated a number of names, and each one had a different leadership style. Somebody was strict, and somebody who was more of a people's person. Each one of us have our own set of personality type, qualities, strengths, and weaknesses. It is all about who capitalizes on their own strengths and how much and how quickly and how wonderfully they can do. I think that was an important consideration. Another important consideration all of us have taken, that you've taught us how exactly to thrive in this current world. Important is to master the inner game, that is the mind game, and so the outcome action. We'd like your more insights on how we can actually master the inside game, the mind game.
So the mind game is very simple, Amrita, and um, it is no different than what you see in professional sports. So when you start to play, cricket at school, and then you go to college, then you try and aspire to play at IPL. I think a player goes through a very, 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 very strong evolution process. That at the start, you'll be beaten by everybody, but then you continue to become, a Arjun or a Eklavya, that you either have a guru or you look a guru from a distance, but both excel with practice. So I think this is very, very important and critical for everybody, as a student or as a professional also, that there is no other way but a long way of practice, practice and practice, and learn and learn. So that is the only way. And I'm not saying that, go for, as many degrees as you want, because that may be an academic thing, but whenever you deal with people, you have to learn from them. And you have to learn from them. People will always come and criticize you. So you have to see whether that criticism is a healthy criticism or a unhealthy criticism. And if it is an unhealthy criticism, you can very well ignore it. But if it is something which is really touching your conscience in terms of a development area, because this happens to us in our organizations, that we have this self evaluation, annual evaluations, and which happens for a student by way of a report card. That you sit for an exam, you get grades, and then teachers appraise you, teachers give you feedback. But then there are some people who will be in a state of denial, that how come I got a 40% marks, how come I got a D grade, how come I got a C grade. But I think what is important is that feedbacks should be taken at every stage of life, and then you have to really think that, is it a real feedback? Is there something which really needs to be changed inside me? And if your conscience tells you yes, not your ego, but your conscience. So that conscience is something which you should follow, and ego is something that you should avoid.
Absolutely. And we'd like your views on one more aspect. Do you think that the Gen Z is going through a cognitive domination? Uh, there are agendas that are running. We have social agendas that are being run, and the generation is being constantly told what to do and not to do with such fierce intensity. Do you feel this generation currently is undergoing any kind of cognitive domination, and probably that's blurring their um, ability to introspect?
I would think that such kind of feedbacks have happened with every generation. It's not only with Generation Z as of today. I think with every generation, this is a part of the evolution process. And people will come out and tell you that you don't know this, you should do this, and everybody is an expert. Like for example, many decades ago, when I decided to do pursue my profession, and my father was a doctor, and we were doing film business. My uncles used to run a film business in Meerut, my hometown. And then I wanted to go in service. So everybody told me, challenging my cognitive thinking was that everybody in your family either has been professional or has employed people. Why do you want to become an employee yourself? You have hired so many people in your family business. So that was a big, I would say, a social stigma, perhaps, which those people had who were advising me, not me. But I decided that I have to pursue my career as a professional. I want to develop as a professional, which I did. So, as I said, it's a dilemma which will be there with every generation. You have to think what you have to do and follow your conscience. Take feedback, always take a feedback. And with that feedback, make yourself better. And whatever people are telling you, I must tell you a very small incident, which I read about Mahatma Gandhi. So he was traveling in a train, and he was sent a notice. I think it was for some agitation which he would have done, and that it was a two-page notice, and there was a safety pin which was there, which had bound the two papers notice. So there was, I think, Jawaharlal Pandit Nehru was also sitting with him, and what he did, they were traveling in a train, and what he did was he tore away the notice, and he took the pin and he put it in his dhoti. And then Pandit Nehru asked him, "What did you do? You tore away the sum." So he said, "Whatever was more useful for me, I have kept it in my dhoti, and the other thing I have trashed." So I think you have to think about what feedback you are getting. What is more, will make your life better if you pursue it. What is it? A negative criticism has to be discarded.
Absolutely. I think this satisfies our curiosity.
Whether you are part of a problem or whether you are part of a solution. So there are people who will say that this cannot happen, this will not happen, this will not work. They will always throw up questions. But what is the solution? Is something which we have to think for ourselves. Then we do. Are we driving for results, and are we communicating powerfully or not? For a entrepreneur, the assessment of Harvard Business Review tells us that, what entrepreneurs are good at are persuasion, leadership, personal accountability, goal orientation, interpersonal skills. These are some of the things which they possess. But what they lack is empathy, analytical and problem solving. They are only focused with a goal. But these are some of the things which should planning and self management is for an entrepreneur or for a startup is something which people should also pay attention to. So how do you develop as a very authentic leader? So I think all of us carry a lot of history from where we come from where we are educated, what is our family background, what is the culture. People have a mindset, I'm coming from a small city, I'm coming to Bombay and Delhi, which is a big city. Whether I'll be able to face competition, at least I had that problem. And that is a mindset I had to overcome. So that is something which you have to understand. What are the things which are stopping you from your progress? For example, some people may say that don't leave your hometown. How will you survive in a big bad world of Delhi and Mumbai? So have confidence in your children. Have Parents should have confidence in their children. Children should demonstrate that confidence with their parents that we will survive no matter what. What are those tools that you use to make yourself self-aware? And by self-aware, I mean, what are the things that you lack in your leadership? What are the professional things that you should develop? Whether you have a plan to overcome those deficiencies. First of all, do you know what are your deficiencies? Then what are your most deeply held values? What is it that I will not compromise? Honesty, I will not compromise. So whether I would like to work for an organization where dishonesty is promoted, the answer will be no. So if you are caught up in that uh, culture where your values are compromised, perhaps it's a time to move on and go to an organization where your value system is more aligned. Then you have to think about what motivates you from extrinsically, which means who are the people who motivate you. Um, do you read people's biographies? Do you watch people's biographies you admire? And what are the important things that they did, which you can also do? Because everybody, so if Mahatma Gandhi had 24 hours, he became Mahatma Gandhi in 24 hours, others did not. So perhaps he did something different in those 24 hours that he became the father of this nation. So he perhaps was able to motivate himself for the cause of the nation, which propelled him to so much greatness. Mother Teresa, there's so many examples. Um, then what kind of supports team you have in an organization, in your student life? You want to excel. All students want to work hard. Are you working as a team to be successful? Are you helping each other? Then is your life being integrated, the same person in all situations? This is very, very important and very interesting. So, when you are in your hostel room, or when you are at home, or when you are in a class, are you the same person? So when you meet with people in an organization and your boss takes out you for lunch, he or she is a very different person at a lunch room. But the moment you come back to office, you see a certain mask coming on his face or her face. So why do people have different masks every time? Why can't you be the same person? Because if you are the same person, it will be very, very easy for you to work efficiently and without any burden to your mind. What is authentic? How do you make yourself very authentic in your life? By authentic means that people start to trust you. People try to be, happy associating yourself with you. What is it that people are avoiding? Do you find people avoiding you? If so, why? And how it can be corrected? Then what are the steps you can take today, tomorrow, and over the next year to develop your authentic leadership? So this is a development cycle. And you have to continuously read about people, think about yourself, and think about how and what changes you want to bring about yourself and make those targets. And this is, believe me, not a single day's job. It takes years to develop. And then, let's now see some more cases as to why, India had into 2010 just one unicorn, and why by 2021 we have over 45 unicorns, and in 2022 we may see 100. because people have, it's not that opportunities are greater. I think people are now realizing their potential. People are now believing in themselves. People now think that their leadership can do wonders for themselves and the organization that they want to create. Previously, I think it was more of a mindset of working for companies, established companies, big companies, but those companies like a Tata Group or Aditya Birla Group also would have been a startup at some point of time. So when those promoters coming up with a startup like Narayana Murthy with Infosys became or made their company so big, why can't you and I also do the same? So that is all about igniting your leadership of doing greater things. Mukesh Ambani, he inherited a fortune from his father, but unlike his brother, he multiplied his fortune. So both brothers, when they parted ways, they had similar wealth. But one brother destroyed wealth, the other brother multiplied wealth because of difference in leadership of both. Then Walmart, the largest retailer in the world, wanted to go in for e-commerce business, so they invested in Flipkart. So that was the leadership of Walmart, that they did not want to be isolated and grow at 3%, whereas Amazon was growing at 30-40%. So they said that if we want to remain or have our leadership intact, we need to embrace e-commerce, and that is what they did by investing in Flipkart. So leadership, which is an elephant can dance too. So the largest company in the world is also nimble and agile to go in for a change. A classical case of Jet Airways, where the airline company, because of the problems with the leadership, destroyed the value. So they had time, they had so for their own personal reasons, I think, which became paramount. So when I say become a general manager or think about the organization more than yourself, I think this is what I want to emphasize, that don't be short-sighted and think about yourself. You have a reputation, and there cannot be any value of reputation. So you cannot pay billions of dollars to get back your reputation once it gets destroyed. So that is very important. Cafe Coffee Day, a successful business, Starbucks equivalent in India, but certainly committed suicide. And so that is also another form of leadership which that person should not have done. Then recently, we are hearing about the former CEO of National Stock Exchange. And uh, now it's been said that a lot of confidential information was leaked to somebody unknown, which is completely, in my view, forbidden, and nobody can do this. That when you are working in a official capacity with such a important institution, you can't destroy that institution by your own personal things. And similar thing applies to Chanda Kochar for ICICI Bank. She must have received all kind of awards, whatever is possible in India, but on corporate governance. But I think a lot of problems she faced. So this is my last slide. When we talk about introspection, and on the left you see is some of the companies or all of my companies that I worked for till today. On the right side are some of the institutions or eminence which I have been associated with. But I think left and right is a byproduct on my introspection, and my introspection is my middle column, which you see under my education section. And that is what I call for my own personal purpose, my own introspection. That over the years, when I started my career, I wanted to be a company secretary. Then I did law from Meerut University. And then I wanted to become an international lawyer. So I did law from US and from UK. Then I also did, CS from UK. Then I, wanted to learn more about the business side. So I had the fortune of being coached and trained by Boeing Leadership Center in St. Louis in US. And then Boeing sponsored me for a program at Wharton on leadership. So it was only after I realized what I wanted to do, I was able to convince my employer that this is my development area. This is what I want to develop. And the employer, took notice and gave me that opportunity. But that introspection is something which I had to do on my own. And if I had not done that introspection, I would not have been able to, build my core, as I say, as a core of my introspection. And because of that knowledge, because of that learning, I was really fortunate, to be employed by some of the world best known brands. And I'm really, really fortunate. But I must definitely say that I'm being very candid that I never imagined that I would work for Boeing one day. But I think what I learned very early in life is the only thing you have in your control is how you manage yourself, and how you learn and improve yourself is something which, and the right side and the left side that you see on the screen come on their own. So those are my thoughts, Amrita, for today, but I'm very happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. And what this session was such a beautiful blend of academic insights and industry knowledge. Everything that we learned, and all the viewers and the students present, anything that was taught to them was actually substantiated with a practical example. So I think this was more relatable. Also, the bottom line, anything and everything that happens in your life, ultimately it is how you are, how much you work on yourself, and how much you understand yourself. So we'll be happy to take any questions. Please. Meanwhile, okay. Also, I'd like to know, on behalf of Gen Z, they they feel quite inundated with a lot of expectation, and they feel things are a little difficult for them, more difficult than the previous one. Do you think that is the reality, or probably is just a mindset?
Sorry, Amrita, can you repeat your question?
The question is, Gen Z today feels that they are quite pressurized and inundated with outside forces, and they've had to go through a lot of if I may say crisis, or certain natural calamities that also we've seen, and things are a little difficult for them as compared to the previous generation. Do you think, see why I ask you this question, because I see you, I cannot actually put you in any one generation. Your mindset is something, and your the way you've been working is something that you can actually fit into all the generations. I mean, so do you think this holds true, or it is just a mindset?
I think it's just a mindset, because if I look today, uh, uh, that when I started my career, so that time there were not so many opportunities. There were very few companies, very few people. There was no career as a corporate lawyer. People used to go to external firms. These big companies go to external firms. But then, as the economy progressed and as the multinational companies started to come in, I think the concept of a in-house legal department, started to flourish. So what I can say is that today's world will have always have more opportunities. For example, if I were to want to go and study outside India, today you can do everything online, you know. But in those days, you had to go to the Reserve Bank of India to take permission to get $500 as foreign exchange, then go to your bank in person to get those $500 in exchange. Then when your money runs out, your parents have to run to the bank to get foreign exchange. All those problems have gone away. These things have, become so better. And then today, we see youngsters who are coming to our organization and they are doing global roles. For example, engineers in our organization, they are handling projects from US, they are handling projects for Korea, China. Where was this opportunity earlier? So there should not be a worry. I think there should not be a worry for the opportunities. I think the worry, I'm not saying there should be a worry, but there should be a focus on your professional development. how would you develop yourself as a better individual, as a better professional? That will only be if you constantly are willing to learn and learn on the job, learn as to what are the new technologies, learn what are the important things which are happening in your domain area, and also, don't be confined to your domain area, because in today's world, business is as important to be understood by a finance professional and also by a legal professional. Because if I don't understand my business, I also have to work that extra bit harder, because in law we are not taught business. But then unless I am able to learn that, so that is also remains my development area. So each one of us are in our own unique zones, but the commonality between all of us is to keep a personal agenda on self introspection and improvement.
True, and how wonderfully put. What are your concluding lines for everyone, the Generation Z that is watching all of us? What do you think are the probable challenges they will be facing as they enter the workforce or probably get full-fledged into experiencing life? And how can they proactively solve them?
See, Amrita, the challenge is only in the mind. So I think what we should all develop is how we develop, enhance our capacity. And that capacity, people think that if I work for 18 hours or 19 hours or 20 hours, that will be my success. But I think most of the literature that you will read is, you may want to work for 18 to 20 hours a day, but give some time in between to pursue your hobby or things you love. Because if you are able to find time to do things that you love, it will only enhance your capability to do more work. And that is how you learn. So if you are good at dancing, Bharatnatyam, if you are good at singing, if you are good at whatever playing, so do not put that. Don't hang your bicycle on the wall. That cycling you should do every day, because that will motivate you and freshen up your mind to be able to do enhance your capacity to learn more and do more work. And that is how you progress.
That was an ace answer. Superb. I think this is truly the way holistic development, enjoying life and working as well. Wonderful, wonderfully put. Thank you very much, Dr. Akhil Prasad. It was a pleasure having you here. Indeed, knowledgeable session, pearls of wisdom. We learned a lot from you. Thank you very much. All right. Over to Prashasti, madam, please.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, ma'am. It was really an insightful session and an intriguing one. I now request Professor Prakash Ramani, Deputy Director, Admissions, Manipal University, Jaipur, to deliver the vote of thanks.
It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this webinar successful. I, on behalf of Manipal University, Jaipur, convey my warm thanks to all the audience for their significant presence in this webinar. I extend my gratitude to our honorable guest, Dr. Akhil Prasad, for giving us his valuable time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. We have no words to offer gratitude for your valuable presence in this webinar. You gave deep insight into the topic, value of self-leadership and introspection, and revealed some interesting facts. It was informative webinar in process. I'm pretty sure the valuable knowledge you gave us will help us in our life. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Akhil Prasad for taking out time from his busy schedule. I would also like to express my gratitude to Ms. Amrita Dudia for steering the webinar in such a professional manner. Thank you so much, madam. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Honorable Professor G.K. Prabhu, President MUJ, Professor Amit Sharma, Pro-President MUJ, Dr. Neetu Bhatnagar, Registrar MUJ, and entire MUJ management for providing immense support and guidance required for the successful conduction of this webinar. I am immensely thankful to Dr. Prasad Jain for her efforts to anchoring the webinar. I must thank the entire organizing team for working hard for the past few days to make this webinar successful. Thank you everyone once again for making the webinar a great success. Thanks to all. Thanks to all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It is for the information for all the participants who have spent their time with us and have lent their ears to this conversation that the e-certificates will be emailed at your registered email ID. So kindly check your emails after this webinar. It will take some moment reaching the certificates, so be patient. On behalf of the entire team at Manipal University, Jaipur, I once again extend my heartfelt gratitude to all for joining us today and making this event a success. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. Great day.